Cool, man. Well, hey, thank you for joining. This is our first interview we've done. We've reached out to a couple people and we've got some on the schedule, but you're the first one that we've got on here. So appreciate you taking
Awesome.
time out of your schedule. I know you're busy, with the season coming up. So how's that looking? What's life currently looking like for you and the rest of the team?
Yeah, so we just finished up fall camp a few days ago. So now we're into our kind of mock game week, we call it. So we're going through what a typical game week would look like, and then obviously next week starts the official season. So we have practice in the mornings, and then typically classes in the afternoon. So it's not too bad now, but fall camp was definitely a tough schedule.
Yeah. And has school started yet for you guys? I know it's like around the middle of the week for some people, or I'm
Yeah,
not
we
sure.
start on Thursday.
On Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And you're gonna be a senior this year?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And what are you majoring in?
I'm a history major with criminal justice minor.
Okay, gotcha. So let's say aside from football, if you were planning your career, starting next year, because that's when you graduate. Or I don't know if you're doing a master's degree or anything like that. What is your ideal kind of occupation? Where are you wanting to work at? Like what's that looking like as far as a work life?
Yeah, I kind of have two paths that I'd like to explore, just in terms of like options. But
Yeah.
I love kind of like the FBI, Secret Service type stuff, and anything kind of criminal justice related. That's why I wanted that as my minor. So I don't know the exact field yet, but something along those lines. And then on the other side, I love history, which is obviously why it's my major. So
Yep.
my other option would be being like a teacher and a coach, because I
Okay.
love to be around the game and I love obviously giving back. So something like that, coach and teach at the same school would be cool.
Yeah, and I think that's a popular thing to do with specialists after college, especially the ones that are wanting to play professionally too. It kind
Definitely.
of allows them to be flexible and still, train or stay in shape and do all that stuff while
Yeah.
waiting for that phone call or whatever else too.
Mhm.
So that's awesome. So how I think when I was doing some research on you before this happened, I didn't want to go in blind and not know anything about you. So I think you graduated around, was it 2020 in high school? Was
Yeah,
that
2020.
okay? So that was a crazy time. So talk about how, I mean, first of all, just trying to go to school during that time, but also you're thinking about where am I going to go to school next, and the recruitment process. I'm sure that was a little different during those times. So was there anything crazy going on that made it difficult, or like traveling to go visit schools, or what was that kind of like?
Yeah. So luckily, I was committed in 2019.
Oh, okay,
The
okay.
summer is when I came to the camp and then committed. So luckily, I had that kind of planned out, or that was already set in stone. But it wasn't, I guess, until March 2020 ish. And I'm from Chicago, so we shut down things pretty quickly, and it was like a lockdown type deal. But school was tough. I actually got sick before COVID,
Oh,
and I got tested for everything. Nothing showed up. We didn't know what it was, but I was out for like a month before COVID actually came through.
mm.
And so that
In
was tough,
retrospect, you
trying to
you
finish up
probably
school. Yeah, trying to finish high school online, and then obviously then COVID started, and so had that whole thing going on. And then we didn't actually know when I was going to be going to school until a few days before we got the call, and it was like, hey, we need you to like come this weekend and get moved
oh
in.
wow.
And so, yeah, it was a very quick turnaround, but luckily my parents helped me out a lot. And so we were able to get everything finalized with school, graduate. And I missed my high school graduation, which was unfortunate, but
Mm,
because I had to get here in May and our graduation was in the middle of June. But
right.
yeah, but I was very fortunate enough to be able to come here, and kind of everything was already set in stone before COVID.
Yeah, and when you got there too, and you played your freshman year too. I think I saw you were battling for a spot in fall camp when you
Mhm.
got there. So that was right when you were getting there. You were already battling for a spot. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was, I think he was a fifth year guy that had been here for a little bit. And so obviously I was coming in, and that was kind of like my first real competition, kind of, especially for
Mhm.
punting. I had it a little with some other positions when I used to play quarterback and such. But this was kind of like my first real competition on the big stage. So I was definitely nervous, and definitely took me a little while to kind of get in my groove and get things going.
Yeah. So, man, I've got so many questions. But going back to you saying you were playing quarterback, so is that a position that you played in high school then?
Yeah, so I played quarterback kind of middle school, and then my first 3 years in high school. And then my
Okay.
senior year, I played wide receiver. And I actually wanted to be a quarterback when I was younger, and so I had trained with that with coaches and stuff. But then
Okay.
I quickly
Interesting.
realized that wasn't going to be my path to college.
Interesting. Okay. Well, in that it kind of does translate now because you've got the stats to back up passing in college. I think I have down here that you're 6 for 6 total passing, 3
Yeah,
touchdowns. So that every other time you're throwing a pass, it's, fans and everybody else cheering can hopefully, hopefully see a touchdown in your red
exactly.
zone. So, how much is that? How did you, tell your special teams coach or your head coach, hey, I can spin it, I can throw the ball, and I'll prove myself here in practice. But what is it like in a game when they're saying, hey, we're running the fake punt, Kai, you're throwing it? What is that like? And how excited are you? Are you nervous? What is that like when they call
Yeah,
that
so
in?
once Coach Beamer got hired, we had before he got here, we had ran a fake my freshman year where I
Uh-huh.
threw a pass. So they kind of saw that, and so they kind of knew that I had some background throwing. But then, kind of going to your next question, we don't know we're going to run it until basically we're running out on fourth down. It's not like
Okay.
something that they're like, okay, the next punt we're going to run it. So we're
Hmm.
just kind of waiting there, ready to go out to punt, and then they tell us, okay, we're running the fake. And
It's
so
super
there's
situational, it seems like.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So you don't. There's not much time to really think about it, but that's definitely the most nervous I am, just because it's such a pivotal kind of play
Right.
in the game rather than just a normal punt.
Right.
But I try to just kind of go out there and see nothing.
Do the
See
best you
everything's
can.
same as usual, yeah, and it's worked out for us.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. At what point did you kind of realize that, quarterback's done, punting is on for sure?
Yeah, I'd say I realized I had that kind of epiphany kind of midway through my freshman year of high school, just because that's kind of when my punting. I'd started training for punting in seventh grade, but I'd say I
Okay.
didn't really get good, I guess, or kind of have good technique until my freshman year. And so
Okay.
that's when I kind of started seeing a little bit more consistency and just kind of going up against other guys. You kind of see where you match up. So midway through my freshman year is kind of when I realized that punting was going to be my focus. But obviously, I had to do what I could to help out my high school team and continue playing other positions. But then my sophomore year is when I started going to the ranking camps with Coles and going to those kind of bigger things and nationally competing. And that's just kind of when everything took off. Kind of midway through my sophomore year into junior year is when the recruiting stuff started, and you kind of started to get your name out there.
Yeah. Awesome. Did you play any other sports in high school?
Yeah, I played basketball and rugby.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a big thing in Chicago, or is that just kind of like your thing and you found a club for it, or
Yeah,
what was
not
it like?
it's not really that big. I have an older brother who's 4.5 years older than me, and he had a friend that played, and so then the friend got my brother to try it, and then my brother loved it. It was his favorite sport he ever did, and
Oh, wow.
so I started playing in sixth grade
Oh,
because
okay.
at that time my brother was I think was sophomore in high school, and so that's when he had already played for a year, and from then I got hooked and just loved it, and then played all the way up until COVID senior year.
Oh, wow. So no more rugby though.
No,
Can't
I can't risk it anymore. Yeah,
can't risk playing that anymore.
yeah,
Awesome. So as far as this season goes, I know the strength of schedule is for South Carolina. You guys are at the top, number one, from what I've been seeing. Are you guys? Is it more of a you're looking at the schedule and you look at these other teams, or do you think, hey, we know who we are. We're South Carolina. Last season you guys had a great year. Last year had some really key wins. Is it something, hearing that and seeing that, is that something that you're, looking at the schedule and looking forward to games and all that? Or is it just, hey, we've got, focusing on week one and that's kind of all it is? Or how do you personally kind of see that?
yeah. I definitely, for me at least, have games that are circled, I guess, or maybe teams that you really want to beat, and things like that. But we've kind of have a culture now where it's just like week by week, and
Mhm.
focusing more on ourselves rather than the opponent. I think that's helped us a lot with success because a lot of times you get caught up looking ahead. And then, the team you have, we're playing Furman week 2. And,
Mhm.
you might be thinking, oh, we'll just look ahead to Georgia week 3. But,
Right.
Furman's going to come in playing 110%, and you can't just
Mhm.
like knock them off or something like that. So we're, heavily focused every single week on each team. And it's definitely helped us a lot success wise.
Yeah, no, for sure, and it definitely shows. I think Coach Beamer being there, and was he hired? Was that your going into your sophomore year? Was
Yeah.
that his first year there? It seems like he has just he's just so loved there, and everybody respects him and admires him. So what's it been like, playing under him? Being a new coach and him still getting acclimated to the environment in South Carolina and all that. What's that been like playing, when you're still kind of new there and, you have a head coach that's brand new there. What's that like? Just, walking into a new head coach and how does that, affect your teammates and everybody else around the school?
Yeah. So once Coach Beamer got hired, it was at that point, none of the coaches that had recruited me were now
That's
or still
right.
there.
That's right.
So, and that was the case for a lot of the guys that were there. So
Hmm.
that was just that was like an eye opening moment, and it's like you have to rebuild all these connections that you thought you had with the school, kind of. But Coach Beamer, does a great job of being like a player's coach, in the sense
Yeah.
of he acts like us, not maybe the same for some things, but he's funny. He can relate to us. He likes to keep things fun and lighthearted, but then obviously be a tough coach that's going to make us work hard. But he made the transition super easy, and then obviously the coaches he brought in kind of matched his same energy and mindset, and that's just kind of made the whole transition as smooth as it could have been.
Yeah, for sure. That's really cool. No, it seems like he, everybody's respects him, that he can be there for a long time if he chooses to be. So it's
Yeah.
it's really cool to see that. So let's switch up a little bit. So when you're not playing football, when you're not working out and all that, what are some things that you enjoy doing? Is it kind of relaxing? Is there like a certain hobby you like to do, or what's kind of what do you like to do to like fill in your time, or just to you know, if you have a good game or a bad game, it doesn't matter. You just want to like get away and stop thinking about it. What are some things that you're gonna go do?
Yeah, I'd say the number one thing has been golf for me.
Yeah.
I occasionally played back home, but never really tried, and I used my dad's clubs. But once I got here, it's kind of now for 3 years. I've just been like playing golf almost every day, going to the range,
Hmm.
and that's it's helped me a lot because like you said, a good game, bad game, or whether it's during the week, it just kind of gets my mind off of football and away
Yeah.
from all the outside noise, I guess, or and I'm able to be around people that it's not like football is their life, and we're able to
Right.
just talk about other things, talk about golf.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And that's why, I kind of have like a routine during the week and where days I play golf. And maybe it's a little superstitious or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like a
Did-
rhythm or something that I found works best for me. So golf is definitely at the top of the list. I also love to fish. And so
Okay.
I've got,
Yeah.
got some buddies that have some bass boats. I think I'm going this weekend actually with one of my teammates. But
Oh, cool.
so waking up just super early and getting out on the lake and going fishing. Got a bunch of rods. So I'd say those are the two things that I kind of switch off back and forth, just because
Yeah.
I love being outside. I can't really sit still and just lay in bed all day.
Yeah.
Those
Right.
things for sure.
So in Chicago, were you like in like a city, like urban area, or is it more like suburbs and kind of out of the way of all the busy stuff?
Yes, I was about 30 miles north of the city,
Okay.
in the suburbs, but it
Okay.
was
So
still
you could
it
still
was
find.
close enough where if you wanted to, you could go and it wasn't that far away, but
Okay.
still far enough away where you didn't have that big city feel.
Gotcha. I was thinking that if you were in Chicago, it'd probably be harder to find golf courses and places to fish and stuff if you were kind of in the middle of everything. But
Yeah.
because I've got a friend in New York, he says the same thing.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the
Hmm.
courses are either like stupid expensive or they're just like awful. There's like
Yep. One or the
hardly
other.
any in between. So I'm sure in South Carolina, there's more room to kind of pick and choose, and it's not
Definitely.
as crowded as Chicago would be. But
Mhm.
so when it's a Saturday, it's a game day. Whether it's, let's say it's like an 11, or I guess for you it'd be 12 or noon kickoff, right?
Yeah.
Is the earliest you would go. So what are the differences of, let's say, I think one game that you guys got, well, the first game that you guys are playing is Carolina, and that's North Carolina. It's going to be an awesome game to watch.
Yeah.
And it's at I think 7:30 or 8:30 your time. So first of all, what are some things that you're going through, when you're waking up? And what are the differences between, a noon game and a 8:30 game? So I guess the first question being, what are some pregame, rituals or routines, or if superstitions, if you do everything or something every single time, what's that looking like for you when you're waking up?
Yeah, so now since this is going on my fourth year, it's pretty. I wake up and I kind of just feel like it's another day almost.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's game day or whatever, especially for those later kicks where you're going to be waiting around all day.
Yeah,
When it's those earlier kickoff times, you pretty much wake up and you're just go go go
going.
until the game's over. But
Hmm.
for the later kickoffs, yeah, it's just kind of usual, nothing crazy. We sit around and watch the games that go on before. But in
Hmm.
terms of pregame stuff, once I get into the stadium, I change and I head outside and I call my mom. I FaceTime her, and that's just kind of something I've done. She acts like a mom would, where she's just asking me about. Obviously she wants to see the stadium, and it's do you feel ready and stuff. But then it's just like she tells me about what the family's doing back home, or who she saw at the store the other day. It's
Yeah,
just kind of like a lighthearted way for me to just kind of escape the moment in a sense. Uh,
yeah,
but then, once we hang up, I feel good, and then I start throwing with my long snapper Hunter, and we kind of have this like we keep backing up until we're just like throwing it as far as we can, pretty much.
yeah.
And then I do a little crossbar challenge with the quarterbacks, and then from there, it's just kind of warming up for kicking and going to the game.
So you're warming up the arm though pregame, just
Oh
making sure
yeah,
you're ready
absolutely.
just in case. So
Yeah,
that's awesome. What is your relation? So is what year is Hunter going to be this year?
senior. Yeah,
So he's going to be senior, and then is Mitch? He's going to be a junior. Is that right?
senior as well.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay, so the whole specialist is it's
Yeah.
one last ride for you guys. What's your relationship with those guys? Being the punter, how close would you say your unit is? Because that can really translate to on the field whatever you guys do off the field too.
Yeah, I'd say we're the closest group in the country, just because we all came in together, and when we came here, it was during COVID, so it was like
Right.
we all got here, and it was like the hardest kind of transition almost
Hmm.
going through that time, and then we've all experienced ups and downs, and we've all had to be there for each other, and we've all kind of whether it's because we had a different long snapper at first, and obviously Parker White was kicking or doing field goals
Yeah.
before Mitch. So we've people have had to kind of compete or sit for a year or so, and so we've just kind of we built a solid friendship, which then kind of shows up on the field where I trust Hunter 100%. The snap's going to be where it should be every time, and then at least I hope Mitch would trust me that when I hold it for him, it's going to be he's not even worrying about it, which I think we have that, and it shows also like when I threw Hunter the touchdown in the bowl game. It's like that reminds me when I threw that pass of like us running routes in the indoor before practice like we do, and just like playing catch. It's like that kind of thing where if he's there, he's going to make the play, and so it's just kind of synced up in muscle memory at that point.
Yeah, no, that was one of the craziest plays that I remember seeing, was just seeing, punter to long snapper touchdown. I was like, what?
Yeah,
I got to see this.
Like they may fake the field goal. And here is Kroeger down the middle of the field to Hunter Rogers. Touchdown Carolina. Touchdown Hunter Rogers on another Pete Lembo special. The Gamecocks strike against Notre Dame for a 23-yard touchdown throw. Oh my goodness, Kroeger.
How about him looking off the defender?
All he does.
He looked out here for the wide receiver. He looked him off. You can't teach quarterbacks to do that.
Are there specialists that on the other team, and are you going to go say something to them after the game, or what's that kind of? Because I know the specialist community is it's tight knit, right? It's like if you punt, like you punt, you get punting. If you kick, you get kicking. And with a lot of players being under certain coaches growing up, a lot of them, they're under the same one, and then they just get they're going all over the country. But
yeah.
So what is your relationship like with other specialists directly, teams that you're playing, or even if they're not teams that you're playing, whether they play in the Pac-12 or wherever they're at? What are your relationships like with other guys?
Yes, I'd say we definitely have a type of relationship with the teams that we play, just because you see them every year. And for me, some of the guys we play are the guys that I went through all those high school camps with. So
Yeah.
it's like now it's cool to go up against them, and it's like years down the road, and you're able to play against them. But we all hear about different guys across the country. So when we're watching, a Pac-12 game or a Big Ten game, we're able to say, "Oh, like that's that guy," and we went to this camp together or something, and we're always rooting for each other.
Yeah.
We'll send a text to someone if something crazy happens, and we all try to stay in touch for sure.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite, pieces of equipment to use when you're punting?
Yeah, so we're an Under Armour school, so we have Under Armour soccer cleats, and
Okay.
this will be my third year wearing the pair that I've kind of I guess started wearing in my sophomore year, and I like them a lot. They kind of have a little sock that comes up the ankle, so
Okay.
your
Yeah.
foot kind of feels like locked in. But I mean, I have. Oh, I also wear true socks. I'm sure
Yeah.
seen those or heard of those. So it
Yes.
just kind of gives my foot more grip in the cleat, so it's not sliding around. Just kind of feels like it's locked in.
Yeah.
Not going to move outside of what you needed to do.
How often can you get, if you were to say like, hey, I need new cleats, these are getting, but could you just get them like that
Yeah, I could. I mean, I
Oh,
could go in
wow.
there and ask.
to the equipment and say, hey, I need a new pair?
Yeah, but I mean, we do a good job, and obviously they do a good job of it's not like every day you're going, but if it's to a point where I feel like it's affecting what I'm doing, then obviously I would go and ask.
But you're
Um,
not walking in and for each game and saying, hey, I need a new pair of cleats
no,
for each game. Okay.
yeah, because
I
like
don't know.
I mean, I know a lot of times or guys in the NFL or maybe other schools will do that, but like for us, our cleats kind of mold to our feet. So if you get a
Yeah.
new cleat, you need like that break-in period.
Yeah.
So all the cleats we've been wearing for a few
The
months.
question, when you're walking out there to go punt the ball, what are you telling yourself? And how much do you hear the outside noise or teammates or anything like that?
Yeah, when I go out to punt, I kind of have like a little checklist I'll go through. So it'll be like, where's the returner? Then like depending on where we're punting, I'll pick a spot that I want to kind of make my target line. And then if there's any noticeable wind or something, then I'll kind of think of something I'll have to do to make sure that's not a factor. But then once I kind of get in my spot and I have all that stuff done, I don't really. It's hard to explain, but you almost don't realize what's going on around you. It's
Mhm.
just like me focusing on the ball and when Hunter snaps it. And I'll take a look at the rush and see like if they're holding up or if they're sending the heat just because I might have to speed up or something. But everything just kind of blacks out in a sense, and I'm just like
Yeah.
laser focused. And then, I mean, once I catch the ball, it's pretty much just muscle memory and kind of going through my motions like I would at practice or like I would when I'm warming up.
Yeah. Where are some of your favorite places to play at other than, let's say, at home in South Carolina? What have been some favorite places to go play at?
Yeah. So my freshman year, we played at LSU, which
Oh,
was really
wow.
cool. But it was during COVID, so it wasn't full of people.
Oh, it wasn't the Death
But
Valley that you probably
yeah,
would see this year. Oh,
yeah.
man. Okay.
So that place was cool, but my favorite place to play outside of Williams-Brice is probably in College Station at Texas A&M.
Oh, wow.
Just
Okay.
because that's a place I had visited in high school and got to kick there. But also now, like it's like the biggest stadium in the country, I think, or one of them.
Yeah,
And
that's huge.
actually, their fans are actually pretty nice, which I enjoy. It makes our lives easier.
Yeah.
And it's just like you almost like can just keep looking up because of how tall the stadium is.
Mhm.
It's super loud. They're super energetic. But that's probably my favorite place outside of home. Georgia's really cool. They do that light show in the fourth quarter with the red lights, and they're obviously super loud. Tennessee is another one, just like a massive kind of circle around you. But I mean, any of those like big stadiums, they're all pretty similar.
And I think you guys played Georgia and Tennessee away this year, I believe.
Yeah,
So that'll be super interesting to just be there and just to
yeah,
watch as a fan. I mean, it's just cool
mhm,
to watch, the crowds go wild and everything, but how good does it feel when you're playing, Georgia or Tennessee or, whoever, and you just you hit a punt, or like we'll say Mitch just hits a field goal, or, one of you guys do something to just, quiet how good does that feel better? Or would you rather be at home and hit just like a monster punt and have your home crowd go crazy?
I'd rather do it at home just because then it's like they're cheering for you,
Yeah.
but kind of silencing them, kind of like what happened in the Clemson game, whether it was Mitch's field goal or some of the punts we had, and
Hmm.
everyone's cheering against you. and then you do something and then it just kind of quiets down.
Mhm.
And you kind of have that moment where it's like, wow, like I did that, or like I played a role in that.
Yeah.
That's definitely really cool. And, hopefully there's many more of those.
Yeah, being the villain can be fun
Exactly.
sometimes. So,
Yeah.
how much this is kind of a random question, but how much does the weather impact what you do? And was that a thought at all when you're in high school and you're thinking about where you want to play the next couple of years? Or and you could either you can play in like Michigan or Florida or South Carolina or Texas. Was that something that you were thinking of when you were choosing?
Yeah, it definitely played a role. But in the same sense, I just wanted to go somewhere that gave me the opportunity. But I definitely wanted to go somewhere warm and preferably, Southern SEC. That was kind of like my vibe or kind of people I gel with. But yeah, definitely in games or practice, the weather. I mean, the weather is the only thing we have to worry about. Quarterbacks and they got to worry about the plays and all that stuff. But our defense or whatever is Mother Nature, and so I try not to overanalyze it as much as I can, just to try to keep it as simple as I can for myself. But
Mhm.
you definitely have to, because if it's blowing 20 miles an hour, across the field or into your face, you have to change something. Um,
Yes.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of different things you can change, but it's definitely definitely plays a big role.
Well, I know you're nominated for the Ray Guy Award. You're on the preseason watch list, and it's a for people that don't know, that's the college football's best punter of that year. How much of that are you thinking about during the season, or is that something that you say, hey, there's people that have jobs to talk about that stuff, and I'll just kind of do what it sounds like I kind of know your answer here again, but just wanting to have people kind of hear what you're thinking when you hear, Kai Kroeger is up for the Ray Guy Award and he's the number one, ranked punter in college football, and how much of that outside noise are you listening to versus you're just blocking it out and saying, I'm just gonna do what I do.
Yeah, I'd say it's hard to completely block it out, just because sometimes you look at your phone and you might see something and it's like you can't avoid it. But
Right.
for me, I'll always try to take the positive from it, whether it's something good or whether it's maybe me, it's like being a second team, or I'll like try to use whatever it is as a positive. And but at the end of the day, it's like the preseason stuff is nice, but none of it matters. You
Yeah.
know, I could you could be a preseason All American and then you do bad the whole year and you're nobody pretty much.
Yeah.
So I try not to think of it too much, and I know that if I just do what I know I can do, then everything will fall into place how it's supposed to. And hopefully that at the end of the year I'm holding up that trophy. But if not, I know that there's plenty of more things down the road.
Yeah, no, for sure. And for the people that didn't get on that preseason list, it can be, easy to get a little discouraged and think that you might be, overlooked, but I mean, it's preseason. There's a lot of things that change. I mean, not only in football, but there's a lot of things in sports to where there's a preseason ranking or list or whatever, and it does not look the same at the end of the year. So,
Definitely, especially with us. Yeah, especially with us. Yeah.
yeah, and something interesting that I've been thinking of the past couple weeks too is that you can prepare to be a great punter or great kicker or a great long snapper, but sometimes the stars kind of have to align for you. You don't get to pick where you punt from. You don't get to pick where you're kicking from. How much does that? How much do you see that coming into effect? Or I guess my question is, you can prepare, like I said, all that you want, but do you feel like there's got to be like a side of luck or like I said, the stars just kind of have to align for you to just have a great season? Because there's some kickers and punters that are fantastic, but they might not put up some numbers as some other guys, and which can be affected by their offense or who they're playing
Exactly.
against and all that. So do you see does that kind of affect you sometimes to where you just don't know where you're going to be punting from, and how hard is that to kind of deal with, where you could be backed up in your own end zone or you could be punting from the 50-yard line, just pooching it down there?
Yeah, that definitely plays a role in especially the statistics side of things. But fortunately, we're here at Carolina. It's we practice every sort of situation you can imagine, even a situation that's happened like once in the last 10 years, we will practice it. And so no matter where you are, you've been in that situation before and you're comfortable. And it's like, whether it is that 1 in a million chance that it happens, at least you can say, okay, well, I've ran this before. At least I have some knowledge of what to do. But yeah, I mean, where the offense goes is, that can affect whether we have to hit a 30-yard punt or hit a 60-yard punt. But then kind of like in terms of the stars aligning was kind of like the Clemson game where you hit a punt and you think it's just going to shoot, into the end zone. But because it's like a low kind of bullet and then it ends up just stopping at the 2-yard line or something. And that's where, you can try to control it as much as you can, but you really can't control the bounce. You can try stuff, but you can't control it 100%. And so there's definitely a lot of stars aligning situations. And, a lot of these guys that are really good, maybe they have, their protection isn't that good. So they have to change their form or, the long snapper is a little slow. So they have to speed up and all that kind of stuff affects everybody. But I'm lucky that, I have the best snapper out there and our protection is the best out there. And so I don't have to worry about too much when I go out to punt, which is nice.
Do you think that kickers and punters should have walkout songs when they're walking out for a kick? Or only certain situations, or what are you thinking? Because it was when I think Justin Tucker last year when he was running out to kick and they played. I don't know the name of the song, but it was the one for that Mets relief pitcher, the trumpet one. Yeah. I think they played. It was either they played it over the video or they played it in the state. I don't even know which one. But do you think that walkout songs should be a thing? And if you had to pick one for yourself, what would that be?
That's tough.
Gotta put you on the spot with that one.
I would say no.
Okay.
Just because if something good happens, then it's like super cool and you had the song. But if every time you go out and it's like playing the song and then you do something bad and then maybe something bad happened again, then it's just kind of like, then it's like the worst situation possible.
That'd be too much. Yeah, because I guess in baseball, your relief pitcher, you're only coming out one time and that's it. But when you can kick like 5 field goals a game,
exactly. Yeah,
and if you go like 2 or 3 for 5, people are not gonna like that song, and it could be used against you real quick. So
yeah, I don't really. I guess
it'd have to be in just some big situation, some crazy thing, but that'd be kind of hard to choose when that would be. I don't know.
I'm not sure what song I would pick either. But
what kind of music do you like to listen to? Are you a big music guy, or is it kind of just
really? I love music.
Okay.
So when I got here, I hated country music. And then since that's pretty much the only thing everyone plays, now it's probably my favorite type of music.
It's grown on you.
What I listen to the most.
Okay.
And I've gone to a few concerts and such. But it kind of depends on the situation. Typically country is like, super early in the morning when I get up, that's what I'll play. Or, just driving, that's typically what I'll play. But on game days and on certain situations, I'll listen to rap. And, whether it's with other specialists or, we're out going to golf early in the morning and we're trying to get energized. So, we blast some rap music. But those are kind of the two that or also classic rock. So like 70s to 90s stuff.
Oh yeah.
I got that from my dad. So I like that.
Stuff our parents would like to listen to for sure.
Exactly.
Nice. What are you expecting, out of yourself for this upcoming, school year on and off the field, and what are, what are your expectations just for the future? What else are you, looking forward to after this year?
Yeah, definitely off the field stuff would be, I'm graduating in the spring. So I want to try to have, one of the best or my best school years in the fall and the spring, and then graduate. But I'd say football wise, I'm always trying to harp on like the mental side of things. So regardless of how I did in practice or like the punt before in a game or whatever it could be, it's like just worrying about the next one and being fully committed in everything that I do. And that's kind of, I'm going to relate this back to golf in a sense, because I'll think of it as like, no matter what the shot is you have to hit, you have to be 100% bought in and confident in it, or else it's not going to happen. And, you could be 100% confident and it doesn't happen, but, you're putting yourself in a better situation being confident. And so I'm, constantly working on, whether it's I've got to change something because the weather, or, they have a returner and I'm trying to do different things. Just being 100% confident and bought into every punt, and whatever happens. But just kind of that mental side, I'm really going to try to focus on again this year.
So what are some things that you do to kind of help your confidence?
It's definitely, now that I've had some experience, kind of knowing that I can do it at this level and have been and I've had very successful moments. So that just kind of naturally gives you some confidence.
Yeah.
But then also the people around you, the coaches around you, they're doing their best to give you the most confidence, because I mean, the coaches at least are putting their jobs at risk, for you and trusting you. And so knowing that, that's kind of like, the most confidence I can gain from something. But I've always kind of been a laid back person in a sense, and tried to stay as calm as possible. So although I have like I have a lot of confidence when I go out there, I'm trying to just minimize the situation as much as I can.
Yeah.
Just make it like, it's just like another practice punt, except, it's on a Saturday night in front of 80,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I try to just take the situation and just turn it into something familiar and something where I'm not putting all this pressure on myself. Because, once I've noticed that once I overthink and once I kind of add that pressure, that's when I have bad performances, or that's when, things don't go right. And so there's a lot of things that contribute, but those are definitely the most important.
Yeah, definitely. Cool, man. Well, hey, I could just go on and on about just asking questions and everything, but I know that, you got stuff to do. You got stuff going on. So we'll let you get going.